Be me, Karen, 34 years old. Spent the last decade of my life doing what I thought was right. Community organizer, local activist, running workshops about consent and workplace equality. Helped draft new HR policies for 3 major local employers. Testified before the city council about updating sexual harassment ordinances. Ran support groups for women dealing with workplace issues. Always believed I was on the right side of history. Tonight I'm preparing materials for tomorrow's workshop when my phone rings. It's Daniel, my younger brother. I haven't heard from him in 6 months, which isn't that unusual anymore. We used to be close when we were kids. Hey Daniel, what's up? Long silence on the other end. We need to talk, Karen. I'm coming over. Something in his voice makes my stomach drop. He's never sounded like this before. 30 minutes later, he's at my door. He looks terrible, like he hasn't slept in days. His eyes are red, hands shaking slightly. I offer him coffee, but he just stands in my living room. I got fired today, he says. I start to express sympathy, but he holds up his hand. Let me finish. I got fired because a woman on my team said I made her uncomfortable. I open my mouth to say something about believing women, but he cuts me off. I know what you're going to say. I've heard you say it 100 times. But Karen, I didn't do anything. I asked her if she wanted to grab lunch with the team. That's it, lunch, with 4 other people. He's pacing now, getting more agitated. HR didn't even interview anyone else. They didn't ask the other people who were there. They just called me in and said they were letting me go, effective immediately, to maintain a safe workplace environment. I try to tell him he should fight it, get a lawyer. With what money, Karen? And what lawyer wants to take a case defending a man against harassment claims? Do you know what that does to their reputation? He sits down heavily on my couch. I'm 32 years old. This is my 3rd job in 4 years. Want to know why I left the other 2? I don't answer. First one, I got passed over for a promotion. They told me privately they needed to hit diversity targets. The woman they promoted had 2 years less experience than me. I'm not saying she wasn't qualified, but neither was I not qualified. You know? He runs his hands through his hair. Second job, I was part of a team restructure. 3 people got let go. All men. All between 28 and 35. All single. The women on the team, same performance levels, they all stayed. I saw the metrics, Karen. We were performing the same. I start to say that maybe he's seeing patterns that aren't there. Don't, he snaps. And I've never heard him sound angry at me before. Don't you dare tell me I'm imagining this. You want to know what my life is like now? I don't speak to women at work unless absolutely necessary. I keep my office door open at all times. I declined mentoring a young woman on the team because I'm terrified of being alone with her. I don't go to happy hours anymore because what if someone drinks too much and misremembers a conversation we had? He's standing again, voice rising. I can't even date, Karen. Do you understand that? I went on 3 dates last year. 3. You know why only 3? Because I'm terrified. What if I read a signal wrong? What if I go in for a kiss and she wasn't ready? What if we have a nice time and then she decides 3 months later that actually she felt pressured? Daniel, that's not... Yes, it is, he shouts. I've never seen my brother yell before. You know Alex? My roommate from college? I nod, remembering the friendly guy who came to family dinners. He got accused of assault 2 years ago. A woman he dated for 3 months said he assaulted her. They investigated, and by investigated, I mean they held a hearing where he wasn't allowed to have a lawyer and couldn't directly question his accuser. He got expelled 3 months before graduation. Well, if he was found guilty. He wasn't guilty, Karen. The police investigated separately and declined to prosecute, said there was no evidence anything non-consensual happened. But the school didn't care. The standard was preponderance of evidence, which apparently meant her word against his, and her word won. Daniel pulls out his phone, shows me a photo. It's Alex, but he looks 20 years older than he should. Last I heard, he'd moved back home with his parents, couldn't find work with an expulsion on his record, couldn't go back to school, lost all his friends. His family barely speaks to him. Even his own parents weren't sure whether to believe him. He's completely isolated now. I feel cold all over. Daniel, that's tragic, but one case doesn't. It's not one case. He's shouting again. You really don't see it, do you? You're so wrapped up in your activism and your workshops and your policies. Do you know what those policies you helped write did? The ones about believing women and centering women's experiences. I'm silent. They removed due process. They made it so an accusation is as good as a conviction. They made it so men are guilty until proven innocent. And even then, the suspicion never really goes away. He moves toward the door. I used to be proud of you. I used to tell people my sister was out there making the world better. But you're not, Karen. You're making it a nightmare for people like me. For people who never hurt anyone. He opens the door, pauses. I'm probably going to have to move back in with Mum and Dad, at 32, because I can't find work. And before you suggest it, yes, I've applied to over 200 jobs. The background checks always mention the termination. Always. He leaves. I sit in silence for an hour. Tell myself he's just angry, emotional, not seeing clearly, but his words keep echoing. The next day I go to my workshop. I'm distracted. Keep thinking about Daniel. After it ends, Robert approaches me. Robert, who I've known for 15 years. We met in college, stayed friends after. He's been quieter lately, less responsive to my invitations to hang out. Karen, you got a minute? We go to a coffee shop nearby, he orders. We sit down. He's looking at me with this expression I can't quite read. I need to tell you something I should have said years ago. My stomach is already knotting. I'm lonely. I'm desperately, crushingly lonely. And people like you, your movement, you're a big part of why. Not him too. I'm 36 years old. I haven't been in a relationship in 7 years. Haven't been on a date in 2. I barely leave my apartment except for work. Robert, that's not because of... Yes, it is, he says firmly. Let me explain something to you. When I was 25, I was normal. I talked to women, asked them out sometimes, got rejected sometimes. That's fine. Had a few relationships. Nothing special, but normal, you know? He sips his coffee. Then things started changing. Suddenly, every approach was potentially harassment. Every compliment was potentially creepy. I read articles ones you shared, actually about how women are tired of being approached at the gym, at the coffee shop, at the bookstore, through friends, at parties, basically everywhere. We just want the aggressive stuff to stop. Where's the line, Karen? He interrupts. No, seriously. Explain to me where the line is. Because I've read hundreds of think pieces and I still don't know. Talking to a woman at a bar? Could be fine. Could be harassment depending on her mood, how attractive she finds me, whether Mercury is in retrograde, who knows. He's getting more animated. So, I stopped. I just stopped. I stopped trying to meet people. It seemed safer. But you know what happens when you stop trying to connect with people? I shake my head. You get good at being alone. Too good. Now I don't even know how I would start. I'm so out of practice with basic human interaction that I have genuine anxiety about talking to anyone, not just women. Men too. He pulls out his phone, shows me his screen. It's a therapy app. I've been in therapy for 4 years. Depression, anxiety, loneliness. My therapist is nice, but she doesn't really get it. She keeps saying I should try dating apps. Do you know what dating apps are like for average men? I've heard they can be tough. Tough? Karen, I spent 6 months on 3 different apps. I sent thoughtful messages to maybe 200 women. Messages about things in their profiles, asking questions, being respectful. Want to know how many responses I got? I wait. 7. 7 responses. 4 of those conversations died after 2 messages. 2 women unmatched after I suggested meeting up. 1 conversation went well. We made plans. She cancelled the day before, and then unmatched. He leans forward. Do you know what that does to a person's self-esteem? Sending 200 messages and getting basically nothing back? It's a numbers game for women. They get hundreds of messages. But for most men, we're screaming into the void. Maybe online isn't the right avenue. Then what is? He asks, and there's real desperation in his voice. You've spent years telling men all the places we shouldn't approach women. Your workshops literally have sections on unwanted advances in everyday spaces. So where, Karen? Where are men supposed to meet people? I don't have an answer. And even if I did meet someone, I'm terrified of what comes after. What if things get physical and I misread something? What if she feels pressured because I'm bigger than her, even though I'd never pressure anyone? What if she regrets it the next day? If you're respectful according to whom? He interrupts again. I've seen men get accused who I know were respectful. I've seen relationships end, and then suddenly the woman's friends are saying the guy was always creepy, always pushy. Even when I was there and saw him being nothing but kind. He finishes his coffee. I'm on antidepressants now. Have been for 2 years. I wake up every day and go to work and come home and watch TV until I can sleep. That's my life. I'm wasting my life being afraid. Robert, I never wanted. I know you didn't want this, he says. But there's anger underneath. You wanted safety for women. I get that. But did you ever stop to think about the cost? About what it would do to the millions of men who never hurt anyone? We had to prioritize. Women's safety over men's entire lives? He finishes. That was the trade? Because I'm telling you, as someone living it, as someone who knows dozens of guys going through the same thing, we're suffering. We're lonely. We're depressed. We're checking out of society. He stands up. You want to know the worst part? I can't even talk about this. If I mention any of this publicly, I'm a misogynist. I'm an incel. I'm a men's rights activist, said with the same tone you'd say, child molester. There's no space for men to express pain without being attacked. He puts on his coat. I'm probably going to move to a different city next year. Start over somewhere. Probably won't make a difference, but at least I'll feel like I tried something. He leaves. I sit there for another hour. My coffee goes cold. I head home, thoughts racing. The next weekend, I'm getting groceries. I run into George, my elderly neighbor. He's 73, widower. Always been kind to me. Helped me move in, brings me tomatoes from his garden. Karen, dear, how are you? We chat for a minute. Actually, could I talk to you about something? He asks. I've been meaning to for a while. We go back to his apartment. It's neat, filled with photos of his late wife and his kids. I wanted to talk to you about my son, Joseph. I've met Joseph a few times. Seemed nice enough. He's going through something with his ex-wife. The divorce. George's hands shake as he pours tea. They have 2 kids, 8 and 10. Sweetest boys you've ever seen. Joseph loves those boys more than anything. I nod, listening. The divorce got nasty. His ex-wife, she's angry. I understand that. Divorce is hard, but she's using the boys as weapons. He pulls out some papers. She's making accusations. Says Joseph was emotionally abusive. Says she's scared of him. She's asked for a restraining order. If she felt unsafe, she didn't, George says firmly. I know my son. I watched their marriage. I saw how he treated her. He wasn't perfect, no one is, but he wasn't abusive. They fought about money, about his work hours, normal couple stuff. He shows me the court documents. Based on her testimony alone, no other evidence needed. He's not allowed within 500 feet of his own children. He can't go to their school, can't go to their sports games, can't tuck them in at night. Surely the courts will investigate. The family court system is designed to believe mothers, George says. The judge said it was in the best interest of the children to err on the side of caution. Joseph has to prove he's not dangerous. How do you prove a negative, Karen? His eyes are watery. My son cries every night. Every single night. He's lost 15 pounds. He can't sleep. He's on medication for anxiety. His health is deteriorating physically and mentally. I feel sick. He's been paying a lawyer for 8 months now. Spent his entire savings. And you know what the lawyer told him? That men almost never win these cases. Even if he's proven to have done nothing wrong, mothers get primary custody 85% of the time. The system has to protect children. From what? George asks, and now he sounds angry. From their father who loves them, who never raised a hand to them, who read to them every night? Joseph is a good man, Karen. A good father. And he's being destroyed. George stands, walks to the window. You know what else? His ex-wife's lawyer told her to make those accusations. Told her it would help her case. Didn't matter if they were true. Just that they were filed. That can't be common. It's extremely common, George says. I've been going to a support group for fathers' rights. There are 15 men in that group. Every single one has a similar story. Everyone has been denied access to their children based on accusations that were never proven. He turns to me. One man in the group, his ex-wife admitted years later that she made it all up. Admitted it in writing. He took it to court. Want to know what happened? I shake my head. Nothing. The judge said too much time had passed. It would be disruptive to change custody now. So he still only gets every other weekend. For a crime everyone now knows he didn't commit. George sits back down heavily. My grandson's birthday was last month. 10 years old. Joseph wasn't allowed to be there. He sent a present, but his ex-wife sent it back. Said it wasn't an approved contact method. Those boys probably think their father abandoned them. A tear rolls down his cheek. I'm 73 years old. I fought in a war. I buried my wife of 45 years. I thought I'd seen the worst life had to offer. But watching my son go through this, watching him lose his children, it's breaking my heart. I'm so sorry. Are you? He asks, and there's steel in his voice. Because Karen, you advocate for these policies. I've heard you talk about believing women, about how family courts need to take mothers' concerns seriously, and I agree with some of that. But you've helped create a system with no checks, no balances, no due process. We had to address real abuse. By assuming all men are abusers, he interrupts. My son is losing his children. Other men in that group, some haven't seen their kids in years. Years, Karen. And many of them did nothing wrong except marry the wrong person. He stands up, showing me it's time to go. Think about Joseph next time you're at one of your meetings. Think about those 2 boys growing up without their father. Think about whether your movement is really about equality or about revenge. I walk back to my apartment in a daze. That night I can't sleep. I keep thinking about Daniel, Robert, George's son Joseph. Tell myself these are just individual cases, not representative. But I can't shake their faces, their words. The next day, I start looking things up. Really looking. Not just reading sources that confirm what I already believe. Male health crisis. 3 to 4 times higher rates of completed self-harm than women. Boys falling behind in education at every level. Colleges now 60% female. But scholarships and programs still focused on getting more women into school. Men's domestic violence shelters. Almost none, despite studies showing reciprocal violence is common. False accusation statistics. Hard to pin down, but even conservative estimates are higher than I thought. Workplace deaths, over 90% male. Homelessness, over 70% male. I find forums, support groups, men talking about their experiences. Some are angry, sure, but many are just sad, describing loneliness, fear, feeling disposable, talking about being told to man up and stop complaining, discussing how there's no socially acceptable way to express vulnerability, sharing stories about losing jobs, losing kids, losing hope. I read about college men accused under Title IX policies. Policies I supported, testified in favor of. 60% of accusations at some schools result in expulsion or suspension. Many of those men were never criminally charged. Some were later proven innocent but couldn't get their education back. I find articles about the boy crisis in education. Boys diagnosed with learning disabilities at twice the rate of girls. Boys medicated for ADHD far more often. Boys dropping out at higher rates. But funding and programs still focus primarily on girls. I supported some of those programs, thinking we were just leveling the playing field. Didn't realize the field had already tipped the other way in many areas. I come across research on male loneliness, epidemic levels, researchers calling it a public health crisis. Men with fewer close friends than any previous generation. Men less likely to marry, less likely to be in relationships, social isolation linked to early death, worse than smoking. I think about Robert, alone in his apartment. I read about men's experiences with family courts. Fathers who pay child support but can't see their children. Men who lose their jobs and then get jailed for missing support payments. Custody presumption favoring mothers in practice even when laws say otherwise. Parental alienation destroying father-child relationships. I think about George's son, crying every night. I find discussions about dating in the modern era, men describing the exact same fears Robert expressed. Afraid to approach, afraid to misread signals, afraid of accusations. Spending months on apps with no responses, watching their self-esteem crumble, some giving up entirely, checking out. Why risk it? One man wrote. The potential downside is my entire life destroyed. The upside is maybe a date. The math doesn't work. I spend hours reading. Days. Each story chips away at something inside me. These aren't monsters. These aren't predators. These are brothers, sons, fathers, friends. Many of them supportive of equality, just asking for fairness, and they're being crushed. I think about my workshops, my policies, my testimony, Believe Women, which became Don't Question Women, Take Accusations Seriously, which became Accusation Equals Guilt, Create Safe Spaces for Women, which became Men Are Unsafe by Default. I remember arguing that we needed to overcorrect, that centuries of oppression justified prioritizing women. But these men didn't oppress anyone for centuries. They're just living now, trying to get by. Daniel didn't deserve to lose his job. Robert didn't deserve to be lonely and depressed. Joseph didn't deserve to lose his children. Alex didn't deserve to have his entire life destroyed. I start seeing it everywhere now that I'm looking. The casual male blaming in my activist circles. Men are trash. All men benefit from patriarchy. Male tears. Men need to do better. Always collective. Always generalizing. Never room for nuance. Never acknowledging that many men are struggling too. I think about how we'd react if someone said, women are trash. The immediate and justified outcry. But somehow it's acceptable in reverse. I attend one of my regular activist meetings, listening differently now, hearing the rhetoric with new ears. Someone proposes a new hiring initiative. Prioritize women for all open positions. Even if they're less qualified, someone asks. Especially then, the organizer says, we need to correct historical imbalances. I think about Daniel being passed over for promotion. Someone else discusses a workshop on teaching men not to rape. All men? I ask. Well, we don't know which ones will, she responds. I think about Robert, afraid to talk to anyone. Someone celebrates a man losing his job over harassment allegations. Was he found guilty? I ask. Does it matter? She felt unsafe. I think about my brother's hands, shaking. I can't participate. Can't nod along anymore. I leave early. People text asking if I'm okay. I don't respond. The next week, I call Daniel. I'm sorry, I say. Silence on the other end. I've been thinking about what you said. I've been reading, researching. I think I didn't see what I was doing. Karen. No, let me finish. You were right. About the policies, about the lack of due process, about men being treated as guilty by default. I was so focused on protecting women that I didn't consider the cost. More silence. I helped create systems that hurt you, that hurt people like you, good people who never did anything wrong. I'm crying now. Alex's life was destroyed because of policies I supported. You can't find work because of standards I advocated for. Robert is alone and depressed because of rhetoric I spread. Joseph lost his children because of a system I defended. I don't know what to say. Daniel finally speaks. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know that I see it now. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We talk for 2 hours. He tells me more. Stories I didn't know. Friends who've suffered. Statistics I hadn't seen. Experiences I'd dismissed. When we hang up, I feel hollow. I spend the next days thinking, really thinking, maybe for the first time in years, about my activism, my certainty, my righteousness, about how easy it was to other half the population, how simple it felt to paint men as oppressors and women as victims, how much nuance I'd sacrificed for ideological purity. I think about all the men I'd dismissed over the years, the ones who tried to bring up issues, ask questions, express concerns, how I'd labeled them as threatened by equality, defensive, part of the problem, how I'd never really listened. I meet with Robert again. I owe you an apology, I tell him. I explain what I've learned, what I've realized. He listens quietly. I appreciate that, he says when I finish. But Karen, the damage is done. I'm 36. These were supposed to be my best years. I spent them alone, depressed, medicated. I can't get that time back. I know. And it's not just me. It's millions of guys. Some will recover, some won't. Some are too far gone already. He stands to leave. I hope you'll use your voice differently now. God knows the activist community needs people willing to push back. But for me, I think I need some distance. From you from all of this. I nod, understanding. Watch him walk away. Visit George. Tell him I understand now. He's kind about it. Kinder than I deserve. Talk to your activist friends, he says. Tell them about Joseph. Help them see that men are suffering too. I try. At the next meeting, I bring up men's issues. Suggest we need to consider due process, male mental health, fathers' rights. The response is immediate and harsh. Not all issues are equal, Karen. We can't let men derail women's progress. Sounds like you've been spending too much time on men's rights websites. I try to explain, share the stories, the statistics. I'm told I'm being manipulated, that I'm falling for anti-feminist propaganda. Someone suggests I take some time to recenter my perspective. Another says I'm centering men when we need to be centering women. I realize I sound like the people I used to dismiss. The questioners, the skeptics, the ones asking for nuance. This is what they faced. I leave the meeting. Several people block me on social media. I'm removed from 2 organizing committees. My inbox fills with messages calling me a traitor, a handmaiden, a disappointment. None of them engage with the actual points. None of them want to discuss the possibility that we'd gone too far. I sit in my apartment, alone. Think about Daniel, Robert, Joseph, Alex. Think about the thousands, maybe millions of others. Men who lost jobs, lost children, lost hope. Men who gave up on life because they couldn't handle the isolation. Men who never hurt anyone, but were treated as threats. Boys falling behind in school with no support. Fathers kept from their children. Lonely men, afraid to reach out. I think about my decade of activism. All the workshops, policies, testimonies, organizing, believing I was making the world better, believing I was on the right side of history. I say it out loud. To my empty apartment. We destroyed them. The words hang in the air. We destroyed them. Good men. Innocent men. We didn't mean to, but we did. I think about overcorrection, about pendulums swinging too far, about how righteous certainty can blind you to the damage you're causing, about how easy it is to dehumanize people when you view them as a category rather than individuals. We destroyed them, I say again, and this time I'm sobbing because it's true, because I helped, because I can't take it back, because even now, even acknowledging it, I don't know how to fix it. My phone buzzes. Another message from the activist group. We're disappointed in you, Karen. We thought you were committed to the cause. I delete it. Delete the whole thread. Sit in silence, thinking about what comes next. Whether there's a way forward that doesn't require destroying anyone. Whether equality can mean protecting everyone, not just one group at others' expense. Whether I can do anything to repair even a fraction of the damage. I don't have answers. Just the hollow knowledge that I'd been so sure I was right. And the devastating realization of how wrong I'd been. Outside my window, the city continues on, full of people just trying to live their lives, including the men we'd forgotten about, the ones we'd sacrificed in the name of progress, the ones whose pain we'd dismissed as acceptable collateral damage. We destroyed them, I whisper one more time, knowing that admitting it is just the beginning, knowing that the real question is what I do now, knowing that whatever I do, it won't be enough. It will never be enough, but maybe it's a start.